Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads and must converses the channel. Thanks for coming by again. Today I wanted to talk about big books that I love. I got 8 on the docket, and I didn't realize how much of like a big book lover I was until I started this BookTube channel. And I've always had an affinity for long works, artists or authors that could do a big expansive novel like that. But upping my game as far as how much I read and stuff due to the channel, I've really noticed that I gravitate towards big books. So I'm thinking about in the future of the channel this next year really focusing on big books as kind of a theme of my channel. We'll see how that works out. Go ahead and comment your thoughts on that if you think it's a good idea, or if you think it's not, or if you don't care. Either way. So number one big book that I love is Dune. Frank Herbert's Dune. Which won't come as a surprise to anyone that's read it. It is one of the best in the genre. The Dune series is amazing. Frank Herbert is a wonderful storyteller and a wonderful writer. And the first Dune book is what, most anybody has read, and most people don't go through to the entire series, but the entire series that Frank Herbert wrote is fantastic and totally worth reading. The vision of the universe and of the people in it and of the story just keeps expanding more and more with every single book. At the end of the Dune book, you have an expansive vision of the entire universe that you're in. And the same thing with the second book, the third book, the fourth book. You just keep getting more and more expanded as it goes through. Frank Herbert did an amazing thing with the Dune series, and I highly recommend it. It's awesome. So that's number one. These are not in any particular order. I'm just going down the stack, the smallest one to the largest one for sure, because this is how they're sitting. I couldn't, say my actual favorites. Maybe, Number 2 is J.R. by William Gaddis. I had just read this, and I can't believe that I haven't read this before, and that it's not on more lists of greatest novels ever, lists of great American novels, lists of some of the funniest novels ever, wildest novels ever written. It is amazing, and it is unbelievable what William Gaddis has done. It is unlike anything else that I've ever read. This book is almost completely dialogue. That's one of the things you're going to find most said about it. But the thing is that it is very cinematic. JR is such a cinematic book. It is all scenes. You're going from scene to scene to scene. And the transitions between scenes are very quick. You might ride the bus with someone, or walk with someone, or even go through a phone line from one to another, things like that, to transition between scenes. And then you're just dropped into another scene where there's people around talking, some of which you will, get familiar with in the course of the book. Sometimes people that you just meet right then. Just like in a movie, you have these extras around, and but everybody's talking all the time. It is a wonderful exploration and showing of naturalistic dialogue. There's hardly a finished sentence in the book. Everybody is talking over each other. Everybody is, they're not finishing their sentence. They're not very well spoken, a lot of them, things like that. It reminds me of like a Noah Baumbach movie, where just this dialogue is very true to life and amazing. This is an absurdist satire of American capitalism. And it is one of the greatest books that I've ever read, and so fun and funny. I have laughed out loud, uh, every 20 pages or so. Number three. Number three is an amazing work, and I do have a video reviewing The Manifold Destiny of Eddie Vegas. My video, I get so tongue-tied trying to talk about this book because it is indescribable in its scope. We follow a historical odyssey through the through a genealogy. We meet a couple of characters that are back in the Wild West. Trapper in Washington, Oregon territory, and then we follow their family line up into the present. Along with that, we have two main characters, Donnie and Drake, who are young, affluent, erudite, college age kids that can pretty much do whatever they want. They have the means to do whatever they want, and they up and go to Belgium, and they stay in Belgium for a few months, and then they come back to America. All kinds of insanity ensues. This is essentially an anti-war book, but done in such a way that you are so just in this narrative, all the different narratives that are going on. And what makes this so special and so enjoyable, and one of my favorite big books of all time, is that Rick Harsch's writing is amazing and off the charts. It is hilarious, and it falls into poetry so easily, right in the middle of the narrative. You're just along for the ride with the plot moving along, and this poetic devices show up and just take over the whole narrative. Alliteration off the charts, meter and rhyme sometimes off the chart. I mean, just they're used with such skill that I can't recommend it enough. This is definitely something you want to pick up and definitely want to check out if you're a fan of the big book. It is amazing and undeniable. Rick Harsch is printing out of a press in Slovenia, and I will put that link down in the description box. Number 4, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I have done on this first year of BookTube, my YouTube channel, read a whole lot of Tolstoy. I wanted to focus on Tolstoy this year, and I think I've done a good job with the amount of Tolstoy that I've read while reading a lot of other stuff as well. But I read Anna Karenina in March, and it was an amazing experience. It's like coming into contact with an immortal story. This is like coming into contact with Romeo and Juliet for the first time. If you remember the impact and the feeling of what life is really like, kind of thing, really shown to you through these characters. Tolstoy's a master. A lot of psychology of the different characters. Anna Karenina is completely beautiful and smart and amazing. She's the whole package, and she makes some poor decisions. And I'll leave it there because I do have a 3-part video. If you check my playlist, A Year with Tolstoy, I have 3 parts where I really explore Anna Karenina, because it was one of the most awesome reading experiences of this year for me. And a lot, any of these that I read this year were, for sure. There's something to be said about immersing yourself in a big book that's over 700, 800 pages, that you just kind of really inhabit that world for a while, and it does something that a writer, no matter how well they write, can't do with 200 or 300 pages. So there it is, and number 5 here is Shogun by James Clavell. I have a uh, 2 volume set of Shogun here. I'm sure they had dust jackets at some point. This is an old volume. I read this years ago, and it always stuck with me. This is historical fiction, which I think is what Clavell really is known for, doing these kind of historical fiction. But it is the story of one of the first people, one of the first ships to circumnavigate the earth. And this ship finally makes it. It's a Spanish ship, I believe. They make it around the bottom of South America, and then they just go, across the Pacific, and they're going, and there's just nothing for so long, months, and they're running out of food, and some of the people got scurvy, and they finally get to land, and they land on Japan. And when they get to Japan, they are immediately, descended upon by the inhabitants of Japan, and the story is off. You learn a whole lot about the Japanese culture of that time, and a lot of exploration of, the culture shock that happens in this kind of way. It's a beautiful story. It's a wonderful story. And the end is super satisfying. It's one of the greatest experiences as far as reading of my young life. I probably read it somewhere around 20 years ago. Maybe 15 to 20 years ago. James Clavell Shogun, awesome. Number 6 is a recent read, so anybody who's watching my videos has heard me talking about it, but this is for posterity here. This is one of the biggest books that I read this year. It's over 700, and it was so unexpectedly awesome. It is Perdido Street Station by China Mieville. This thing is the only horror, but the most horrifying book on the list for sure. But it is weird fiction is what I kind of put it in. You can check out my video to hear me kind of going deeper into it on my, my take on my book reviews. But suffice it to say that it is one of the most well-told stories of fantasy, a horror fantasy that I've ever read. There is nothing really to relate it to our own lives and to our personal lives and to our day-to-day. It is completely in a whole different world, and that world is so believable, so awesome, and the story is just off the charts, action-packed. You can't, I read it so fast, you can't stop with this book. It is so cool. Not for the faint of heart. So, there you go. Number 7 is a book that I read a long time ago as well. Long ago as James Clavell Shogun, maybe 15 years ago or something like that. And it is horror. It is labeled as horror, but what it is experimental fiction, and it is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. Anybody on BookTube is very familiar with this work, and it's very polarizing. People either like it or they don't like it. I love it, and I love it for the way that it is unlike any other book, and it does something that no other book does. This narrative is so layered that you get story within story within story within story. And, then it's like the telephone game, right? You don't know where the disconnect is at, but there's obviously a lot misinterpreted, or like, there's a lot that is different than what is laid out for you. But figuring that out is what it's all about. There is a layer to this narrative that is literary criticism written into the book, where there is editors and people trying to do scholarly work on the movie, the Navidson Record, that this book is about. And so it even gives you that level of just creepiness of, well, people are trying to figure this thing out, and what is actually happening, right? What is going on? So I love House of Leaves. I definitely recommend it to anybody who likes horror, but also literary types. If you like experimental fiction, that is right where you want to be. It is one of the greatest of experimental fiction. And then number 8, and the last one on this list of my favorite big books that there is the Bhagavad Gita, with commentary by Paramahansa Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, and his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita here is amazing. I had always read the version of the Bhagavad Gita that's the most popular, which is Bhagavad Gita as it is, and that is very, very cool, to experience the text of the Bhagavad Gita for sure. But the Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual battle. Everybody's on the battlefield. They are on the battlefield, and they are set to war, and God shows up to talk with Arjuna, the main character in the Bhagavad Gita. And he's a fighter, he's a warrior. And there he says, look, I got family on all sides of this thing. So what do? I don't, my cousins are over there, my brothers are over here, and what do I do? And through a series of talks and action, God and Arjuna get to the very depth of what it means to be human, and also has one of the most mind-blowing visions, spiritual visions of reality and of life that you will ever find in literature. It's when God, who is Krishna, he's an avatar of Vishnu, a Vishnu avatara, and Krishna gives Arjuna a vision, and then vicariously gives the reader a vision of the cosmos, of reality as it is seen by God. And it is mind-blowing. I have read it time after time after time just to get a taste of that perspective. The Bhagavad Gita will blow your mind. So there we go, book 2. 8 big books that I love, and 8 big books that you should check out. Let me know if you've read any of the ones that I said. Let me know if you are going to pick up any of the ones that I said. Let's talk it out a little bit, and whatever. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.